clear, and I want to let people speak. I in no way intended at all to minimize what happened to Charlie. I was horrified by it. I have not been on the five
but
since
the two
then.
sides argument, well, it's like pig Latin to a duck.
No. All that I was saying is could we have all of the information before you just say they did this? Because that is a broad brush to paint with this. And this kid
Let's have a conversation.
No.
Charlie had a conversation. He got shot.
Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Picture this: a high-profile segment on national television, and there she is, Jessica Tarlov, a Fox News contributor with a voice so delicate it could have been plucked straight from a silent film. Only today, that voice is cracking under the weight of her own backpedaling. She attempted to shift responsibility for the tragic attack on Charlie Kirk, trying to spin it as if circumstances or some distant cause could absolve the truth. But Greg Gutfeld, ever sharp and unrelenting, dismantles her arguments piece by piece, leaving no room for evasions. This is a moment that exposes something far deeper than a simple debate. It's the slow, almost imperceptible peeling away of the pseudo-moral high ground that certain voices on the left have worn for so long. In the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's death, their strategy has been transparent to anyone paying attention: endless whataboutism, flimsy excuses, and misdirection. Tarlov attempts to drag in tangential examples, as if referencing unrelated events could somehow shift the blame or dilute the magnitude of what actually happened. But let's be clear. The facts on the ground don't bend to clever rhetoric or political deflection. And watching her stumble through her faltering spin before Gutfeld decisively shuts it down is almost painful. It's a lesson in how truth refuses to be rewritten, no matter how artfully one tries. This is what happens when commentary meets reality, and for millions watching, the lesson is undeniable. Excuses crumble when confronted with clarity and accountability.
Close-knit conservative family. We know it was a big gun culture family. The grandma said something like, we don't even know any liberals. It wasn't school indoctrination. Carrie Lake went off on that. He was in an online apprenticeship program at Dixie Technical College, which I don't think was changed.
I would just note the family said he changed.
But they didn't say when he changed.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we need more information before you
Charlie
smear.
Kirk at a dinner
Before
we don't need more information.
Really?
Yes, we don't need it. What is interesting here is why is only this happening on the left and not the right? That's all we need to know. There's absolutely no cognitive...
What about Melissa Hortman that we just talked about?
You want to talk about Melissa Hortman? Did you know her name before it happened? None of us did. None of us were spending every single day talking about Mrs. Hortman. I never heard of her until after she died.
She doesn't matter?
Don't play that bullshit with me. You know what I'm saying is there was no demonization, amplification about that woman before she died. It was a specific crime against her by somebody who knew her. The same. Now you could bring up Josh Shapiro, but then you will not bring up, for example, that was a pro-Palestine person. So don't use your what about this? The fact of the matter is the both sides argument not only doesn't fly, we don't care. We don't care about your both sides argument. That is dead. For one thing, there is no cognitive dissonance on our side. On your side, your beliefs do not match reality, so you're coming up with these rationalizations like, what about this or what about that? We're not doing that because we saw it happen.
Jessica Tarlov trots out the same tired, mealy-mouthed, both sides routine, dragging in Melissa Hortman as if her story somehow balances the scales. But anyone paying attention can see through it. This is exactly the problem. The left has perfected the art of deflection, turning every discussion into a false equivalence, hoping to distract from accountability. And that's when Greg Gutfeld steps in, cutting through the noise with the clarity millions of Americans have been craving. Charlie Kirk was not just another commentator. He was a driving force behind why young people were willing to listen to Trump, to engage with conservative ideas, and to act politically. That influence made him a target. His enemies didn't just debate him. They rioted at his events, attacked him relentlessly in the press, and when a radical finally carried out a deadly act, the same networks and voices that stoked the environment rushed to erase their fingerprints, scrambling to cover their complicity. Gutfeld's point is simple, but it's one the mainstream media refuses to face. This isn't about weighing grievances on some moral scale. It's not about both sides or tit-for-tat politics. It's about one undeniable truth. No speech, no matter how conservative, ever justifies violence. Period. And for anyone watching closely, the double standard and the narrative manipulation have never been more obvious. This isn't spin, it's the reality of modern political warfare, and Gutfeld lays it bare for all to see.
Bright man assassinated, and we know who did it. We are not coming up with rationalizations. We are calm, we are honest, and we are resolute. We're not defensive, and I understand the defensiveness. I understand why people are saying, what about this and what about this? Because if you have to face the underlying fact to this, your life is going to fall apart because you're going to realize you're not the good guys. If you sat around and you defended the mutilation of children, you're not the good guys. If you sat 600, 700 cases of harassment against Republicans and you said, but what about this? What about this? And then you see this murder after calling somebody a fascist, you realize maybe I'm not the good guy. That is a hell of a realization to deal with. So Therefore, you have to grasp at rationalizations. You don't have to do that, Jessica. They do. I don't believe you're part of that group, but why the hell do you have to mimic and echo that crap to us? He was a patsy. That guy was a patsy. He was under the hypnotic spell of a direct-to-consumer nihilism, the trans cult, and you know that. If you can decide that biology is false, you can agree that murder is okay and that humanity is expendable. How you cannot see that alone and see that for what the evil it is without having to attach all of these other things is beyond me. I'm sorry, you weren't here for a week. You came in here and it's cold. And I'm sorry, but this is a story that is immune to news cycles. It's immune to rationalizations. It's immune to bias. This thing is with us for good. And we all have to deal with that. So that means we can't live by the same arguments that you might be reading about relativism among the media. We can't deal with those stories. It doesn't matter. The media is dead to us on this story. They built this thing up. We're dealing with it. We're going to act. We don't care what the whataboutism is anymore. That's dead.
The days of fake civility are officially over. For years, the left has spent endless hours painting conservatives as the enemy, calling them scum of the earth and a danger to the nation, while simultaneously positioning themselves as the guardians of moral authority. And then, when tragedy struck with Charlie Kirk, some of those same voices openly celebrated. Now suddenly they want to gaslight the public, suggesting that conservatives somehow bear responsibility for failing to lower the temperature. Let's be honest, that's not just disingenuous, it's an outright lie. Conservatives do not owe courtesy to those who have openly wished them harm, then feign shock as if it's just spirited debate. That carefully curated mask of moral superiority has been ripped away, and the country is witnessing the double standard in real time. The hypocrisy is glaring, and for anyone paying attention, it's impossible to ignore. So, what do you think? Was Greg Gutfeld right to finally draw a hard line against Jessica Tarlov's both sides nonsense? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to World Insight Hub. That really helps the channel keep delivering sharp, unfiltered political commentary. Until next time, this has been World Insight Hub, bringing clarity, context, and truth to the stories that matter most. Thanks for watching.